bassist and pianist right together. Oh, yeah. Just listen to how they hit this. Super good. The drum, the bass, and the organ player. Do you know how many people would kill for musicians at this level? Damn. I want to feel you. Don't want you on my mind. Don't want to feel you. So this is a really popular thing right now with singing. The way that it's almost like you get out of bed in the morning. You like the way I feel, or something like that. You know what I mean? The droopy, soft palate, kind of really soft, puckered lips, and it gets a very, very specific sound. Would I leave if you were everything I wanted you to be? I really find the microphone choice very interesting. This is a shotgun mic. Usually in a live performance, you're going to have a dynamic microphone. Something like the SM7B is a really popular one right now, one I wish I could afford. But to have a shotgun mic is really interesting. What a shotgun mic is really good at is isolating, like a laser beam, the sound source. And so the bleed is very little, which is important because she's working with the drummer. Do I let you go? Do I keep you in the frame of my mind? Wow. So she's really, really, really in time with the instrumentalists, but she is hitting the notes with less oomph, right? She is giving them a flow, and it's brilliant because the rhythm section's very busy, right? And she is doing, like, just making it smooth and buttery. Fantastic. Wow. Okay. So this has when you have like a really chill flow, you run the risk of being extremely boring. Okay. So this is how she avoids being boring. It's super. Do I let you go? Do I keep you in the frame of my mind? So the vowel change there is a big part of it, right? If you're do, right? If you want to keep things interesting, you really have to lean in to contrast. So what do we mean by contrast? When I say contrast, I'm saying that, like, if she's doing the thing with the vowels, right? And then she goes ah, that's a big difference in contrast. Bright tone versus a darker. The other part of this is what's called an onset. Okay, so the way that she starts one of the notes, she has a very, very relaxed, very smooth vibe. And then all of the sudden, we get a little bit of this, a little bit of vocal fry, right? And that's just these little changes in tone, being specific, very specific, so that the words that are being sung in the song continue to tell a story. Nice. Ah, yeah. This is one of my favorite things that people do in music. The dramatic pause. Let's go. Come on. Come on. That's so good. So more vocal shenanigans. As the song develops, right, she has to do something, right? We talked about that specificity, contrast, just keeping things interesting. Well, she pulls that off very, very well. Hi, dog. My dog likes to be on camera sometimes. One of the most famous bass players to ever play the instrument goes by the name of Larry Graham. You might know him from Sly and the Family Stone. So here's Larry Graham, and I promise I'm going to get to a point eventually. Now that's just deliciously funky. What Larry's quote was saying that when I'm doing something simple, someone else can do something that's very rhythmically involved. And then he would say that when he would, and you can hear in the drums actually there, when he's doing a lot of that crazy stuff, the drum beat is extremely, extremely simple. Just basically a kick and a... You know when it gets me to kind of like bounce that it's really good, because I don't know if you know this about me. I've been diagnosed as chronically Caucasian. Whenever I move my hips, it is a safety hazard to myself and those around me. So this is why I bring it up right here, this phrase. Right, that lovely, arcing, beautiful, right, it's so smooth and so unoccupied, which is probably the weirdest way to explain a musical phrase, but regardless, you can see that the rhythm section is busy, and she is smooth, savory, buttery. It's incredibly basic, but it matters. Oh man. So there's a lot, it's subtle. There's actually a lot going on to achieve some of these sounds. For this, we're going to need to bust out some anatomy. That's the best thing to do in this situation. So this right here is the thyroid cartilage, probably known better as the Adam's apple. And this is important. Why? Well, we're going to get to it. So these, and it's a little hard to see with all this busyness, these are the true vocal folds, all right? These are the false, these are the true. And let's take a little zoom in to see why this matters. This right here is the same thyroid cartilage, the Adam's apple. Okay, so there is an insertion for the true folds here. So why does that matter? Because when I tilt this thing, we're getting a stretch. Because, you know, a straight line is the fastest way to something, right? So when we tilt it, it becomes diagonal. And it pulls the folds a little bit, which makes them thinner, but also taut, so they can get a lot more powerful sound. And then on top of all of that, it's lowering the larynx, which gives a warmer tone. So let's see how she uses that. So what she's doing here is she'll pop up her larynx a little bit on some of the words. So when she goes, feel you, right, that's raising the larynx. And again, this stuff is so subtle, but it makes it interesting, which is very important. So the other thing she's doing for, the video is not where I wanted it. Now, when you tilt the thyroid cartilage, it does lower the larynx a little bit, which gives that unctuous tone. I just said unctuous. I don't even know if that's the right adjective, but I'm committing to it. So when she does that, she'll do it a little bit here and there, right? And then she'll go in and utilize vibrato, which is the tilting of the thyroid cartilage, by the way. When you tilt your larynx, right, the cartilage, right, that vibrato comes in, that depth of tone comes in. And in opera, that thing is basically always tilted. But that's not what she's doing. She's doing like little bits of movements here and there to emphasize rhythm. And I think that that's pretty neat. Oh, okay. Hold on. That's expressive, right? A little right? She gives a little That's the kind of stuff, like every great singer that I look at on this channel, it's all about the specifics from phrase to phrase. Brilliant. It's not this sweet about my misery. That little right? Little bit of vocal fry on the onset. And still, we're getting definitely some vowel adjustments in the phrase, right? She's almost treating it like it's a diphthong, and I'll explain that in a bit. I just want you to hear it. So it's like a crescendo using vowels. So vowels are what we use when we want to adjust our tone quality.
Yeah. And you can even transform it. Yeah.
Now that is the vocal tract simulated on a computer, and the different vowels change the vocal tract. That changes the sound. And she's utilizing that to do a dynamic growing of the musical phrase. Let's So in every one of those little bit of a da 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 dum dum da 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 dum dum da 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 da, right? It keeps getting brighter after every single motif.
Oh, do I keep you in lies? Not this sweet about my misery.
Brilliant. So you know what I'm saying? Like there has to be these little differences, and she can't punch the rhythm because then she's gonna just disappear under the rhythm section. The dog was getting a little lonely, so she jumped into my lap. So let's do it with the nostrils right in the frame. Okay. That is so interesting. She just all of a sudden doesn't have vocal closure. The vocal folds like separate a little bit, but it's done in such a way that it's on time. Right? Wrong. Right? Brilliant. So she's really utilizing onsets, right? So she's using what's called a glottal. If you hold your breath, right? And sing, and then go back to holding your breath, we're doing what's called a glottal. She is intentionally using some voice cracks as well. And so again, this is just all kind of subtle little things that she's throwing in there, and it really makes the phrase. Let's look at the glottal again. Let's look at the space she creates using the glottal, because it's when you stop singing like that, that is a very dramatic pause. Right? I have a Twitter. I'm trying to keep my other socials populated with very specific artists. So the Twitter is going to be Mariah Carey, Beyonce, Chloe Halle, right? No beatboxing, no esoteric stuff. It's just going to be that, about 1 minute videos at a time, trying to post a lot up there so that you know when something is on the channel that you might be interested in. So this is my Twitter. It's got tweets, I think.